The cereal friends are back. Oh no. Here comes Special K and Total. Ah, oh no. It is a delight to be here in this city. I am so stoked to be back, and I'm here for the third time at this venue. Give it up if you've been to a show here to see me before. And let's make some noise if this is your first time. Woo! But I'm very excited to do the show, to cover these chapters, and to introduce our guest, who's someone that you have heard on the podcast before. You love him, I love him, and you might love him as much as he loved his first ever Jucy Lucy, which he had today. Make some noise for our guest, Johnny Frohlichstein!
Jucy Lucy changed my life. For the better.
The joy on your face that just formed as you took your first bite. Oh,
yeah, I went somewhere.
It was from Matt's, don't worry.
Yeah, we were gonna DoorDash it, and there was this place, and I was like, oh, they sell Jucy Lucy's, and Mike was like, no, it's not Matt's. And I was like, does it have to be Matt's? And he was like, yes, it has
to be Matt's. If I learned anything, it was from the Q&A of the first show that I did here like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever I did it. And I asked like, yeah, I'm here for lunch tomorrow. Let me know what I should get. And literally 100% of the emails said, go to Matt's. You have to go to Matt's, get a Jucy Lucy. It has to be from Matt's, otherwise it's not real.
Yeah, my first bite was like onion and hamburger and juicy cheese and like tears that were flowing down my face.
It was great. And then there were just the nicest Minnesota people all over the place whole day. Oh, it was great. And then like our airport run today was wild and filled with all sorts of shenanigans. Johnny and I had to technically go on separate flights, but our flights were departing at the same time. So we met at the airport, went to the lounge together, then departed our separate ways. Then rejoined in Minneapolis, but he had to find me in baggage claim, but then it turns out he was in a different terminal, so then we had to meet at the train. It was a whole, like, all over the place situation. We were going hither and thither, but we've made it, and we're here, and we're ready for the show.
So I haven't been to Minneapolis, St. Paul in over a decade. The last time that I was here was for the Journalistic Education of America High School Journalism Conference. And now I'm here.
Anyone here went to JSICL?
Yeah. And now I'm here to talk about the sequel series to Percy Jackson and the Olympians, wearing a Medusa New York shirt and Harry Potter themed MeUndies. And so I truly only come to this city to do the absolute nerdiest possible things on planet Earth.
It's going to be good. It's a way to do it. So let's get into it. We're going to be covering chapters 48 through 50 of The Son of Neptune today. Where we last left our heroes, we had, just a little tiny thing of Hazel and Frank defeating a big old giant, welcoming the idiot to Canada, etc., etc. And now we pick up in the aftermath of the destruction of Alcyonius.
Big old giant, kind of redundant.
Look, there's giants, but then there's like giants, you know? They're like, maybe the big ol' is more of the metaphorical. He's the scariest. Because I would still call like the earthborn giants, like aren't they already like kind of tall? And you know, you've got the Laestrygonian giants, they're giants, but like...
Capital G giants.
Yeah, capital G, yeah, sure. So, this chapter opens, it's a Frank chapter, we'll retitle it obviously. It opens with, quote, Percy was waiting for them. He looked mad. And I'm very happy that Percy's okay. When we last left Percy, he did his big break a glacier, fall into the water move, and there is a particular prophecy out there that is saying that a son of Neptune will drown, so I was stressed when our favorite son of Neptune fell into a body of water. So I was worried, but he's good.
Probably shouldn't have made you stressed.
Yeah, how dare you? Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I do know he's going to be fine. There's lots of other books that he's in. Now, Percy has the eagle, and he is looking out onto the wreckage that is in front of him. Narrator Frank says, quote, "When they ran up to him, Percy said, 'Hey,' like they were just meeting for lunch or something." Which at first, I thought was just like him being really cool. Like, I forgot about, it's probably in line with the angry stuff, but it's just, Percy does all this stuff and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" He's so cool. He's so cool. But then Frank goes, "You're alive." And then Percy goes, "The fall? That was nothing. I fell twice that far from the St. Louis Arch." And then Hazel, in the rare move, this is normally a move that Frank does, but Hazel goes, "You did what?"
Now, Percy, there's no way he landed in water, as we've all established, when he fell from the St. Louis Arch, too. So not only did he fall twice as far, he landed splat on the concrete, based on the geometry of the St. Louis riverfront, which I know very well, as per my St. Louis hat.
Yeah, your St. Louis City FC hat, as we
SC.
Sorry, as we are mere a stone's throw away from the Minnesota, what's the soccer team here called?
The loons.
So yeah, we saw the giant silver loon outside when we got off the light rail.
Yeah, I was like, "Mike, it's a duck," and some person on the light rail was like, "No, it's a loon."
Some person on the light rail that we did not know and did not speak with came up behind Johnny and went, "It's a loon."
And then she faded back into the void.
"It's a loon." Turned into a loon and flew away. Yeah.
Like Frank.
Right. So yeah, and then what was great was we saw that, we're like, "Oh, okay." And then we turned around and then there was a giant billboard for the soccer team, which had a loon in the logo. Okay, so it's one of those things where their mascot's the loon, but they aren't the Minnesota Loons. They're... Yeah, it's a cooler name? The Minnesota Loons. You guys should embrace it. It's way cooler.
Is the plural of loon? Or loons?
Who feels really confident? It's loons? Okay.
Darn.
So anyway, Percy Jackson. So Hazel goes, "You did what?" And I just love them learning more and more wild stuff about Percy when they're already incredibly impressed with Percy Jackson. They already think he's super cool. And then every couple of chapters, they're like, "I'm sorry, huh?" So it's super fun every single time.
They should have read the first series.
Yeah, they really... You should be like, "Guys, there's these books here." While we're on this train, read up. Them learning these things when they already think he's cool is like if they were playing basketball with Wilt Chamberlain and he scored 50 points in a game and they were like, "Whoa, 50 points. And he was like, "I scored 100 points once. Don't worry about it."
"You did what?"
"I scored twice that one time. It's not a big deal." Percy says it's not important about everything that's happened to him before. What is important is that he didn't drown in this instance, which is true. Hazel thinks that this must mean that the prophecy was incomplete, positing that it may have said something like, "The son of Neptune will drown a whole bunch of ghosts," which is in play, I guess.
Like Mr. Brightside. But she's touching his chest.
It would be also funny if it was like Mr. Brightside. It was just the prophecy, and then they just copy-pasted it and then put it again. That's the best. They wrote the first half of that song. They're like, "What do we do for the second part of it?" "Do it again."
I never.
We gotta. That was him losing his train of thought. It's like, you know what? The song's done. I never. Yeah, that's good actually. So I never had considered that could be what the prophecy getting cut off meant. It could have been something later. I'm still not really sure. I don't know if Percy's quote unquote drowning in the earth with the muskeg was the drowning, or if there's another son of Neptune drowning. In a non-spoilery way, when you first read this, did you have a particular guess about what was going on with the burnt prophecy?
I didn't have a guess. All I knew he was going to come out of it fine, and I was very curious how dear Uncle Rick was going to write himself out of that one.
Yeah. Now, what's very funny is that Percy immediately goes, "I got a bone to pick with you, Zhang. Yeah. You can turn into an eagle, a bear." And I just think it's very funny that he would just go right to this. Hazel then proudly adds, "And an elephant."
This is like when Jalen Brunson wasn't very good, and then all of a sudden he was very more basketball analogies.
Yeah, we're really hitting it. No, don't talk about the Knicks too much. We have Karl Anthony Towns on the team now. Anyway, you got the big ragu, though. DiVincenzo's wonderful. Not enough sports talk. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about books. Percy is stunned. He asks if this shape-shifting is the family gift. Frank confirms and credits it to Pericleminus, who passed it down the ancestry. And Percy reveals reveals that he's upset because that guy got this gift from Poseidon and Percy didn't. So Percy wishes he could turn into cool animals and stuff. But Frank counters that Percy can breathe underwater, he can blow up glaciers, and he can summon hurricanes. And Frank ends this with, quote, "And it's unfair that I can be an elephant?"
I have like 5 basketball analogies running through my head right now.
What I thought was funny, though, is that Percy didn't even have his coolest power get dropped by Frank here. The coolest power is that he doesn't ever have to dry off when he gets wet. That's the best one. That's the coolest power.
I thought you were going to say knowing his directions at sea. Equally cool.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah.
He never has to do towels, the most annoying article of laundry to do.
Yeah.
Come on, never having to do towels?
That's massive.
Oh, huge.
I never have to do towels either. Sorry.
Don't tell me you're one of those people that's like, I'm clean out of the shower. The towel doesn't get, how could it get dirty?
I'm not. I was 10 years ago when I was in Minneapolis, but I'm not anymore.
You weren't one of the people who thought you don't have to wash your legs because the soap runs down your body in the shower, right? There are people like that. I met someone like that. It was scary. Wash your legs.
You're making that up. There's no chance.
It was a guy that I knew from Vine stuff, and he said this, and I was like, ha, 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 good joke, and then he didn't laugh. Ugh, scary stuff. Anyway, Percy Jackson. Percy, in response to Frank calling this out, says, okay, you've got a point, but next time I say you're totally beast, and Frank goes, just shut up, please. And Percy smirks because that's the coolest response, and he is very cool. Hazel goes, if you guys are done, we need to go. Camp Jupiter is under attack. They could use that gold eagle. Percy agrees, but he says that before leaving, Hazel should retrieve all of the Imperial gold that fell into the bay. And I think that's really smart. So they all end up actually doing it as a team. It takes them too long for their comfort, but they know that having these weapons could make all the difference. So they feel like it's a worthy detour.
We all remember, you don't, the scene in Game of Thrones when the White Walkers just have the chains out of nowhere. They actually wrote the scene in this book, so it's way better. You know about that.
Oh, yeah, Red Wedding?
Yeah.
So they end up using all of their powers where Hazel levitates some of it, Percy swims for some, Frank turns into a seal, which as the narrator he lets us know was, quote, kind of cool. Percy said he had fish breath, so that was kind of the step back from making it just cool without kinda. The three then all use their powers in tandem to raise the chariot. They fill it, and they tie a bunch of the weapons and stuff to the back of it with Frank's rope. Frank asks if Arion can pull that much, and I, at this point, was worried because technically Arion is a son of Neptune as well. So I was like, he's also in contention for drowning, and he's about to carry a really heavy chariot?
And he's a horse?
And he's supposed to run on water? Like, don't drown, man. Arion huffs. Percy tells Hazel that he's going to wash the horse's mouth out with soap. He translates the non-curse bits that Arion said that he can do it, but he needs some food. So Hazel feeds him a bent dagger, a Pugio, and then Frank asks if the chariot will withstand the ride since their last one broke. Percy thinks that the Imperial gold wheels and the Imperial gold axle should hold up better than the rickety wood ones from before. Hazel's on board, Frank and Percy hop in, Hazel yells, "Giddy up," and then the chapter ends with, quote, "The horse's sonic boom echoed across the bay. They sped south, avalanches tumbling down the mountains as they passed." So that's the end of chapter 48, which I have retitled, "I Learn I Have Fish Breath." What did you retitle it?
Ooh, I didn't even think about it. I don't know. Percy lies about the arch again.
Wonderful. We get into chapter 49, which is a Percy chapter. And every time it's a return to a Percy chapter after it not being a Percy chapter for 8 chapters, I always go, "My boy!" It opens with 4 hours and then a line break. Ooh, intrigue. The next line says that is how long it took for Arion to get to San Francisco. That's also how long it took for Percy to get his memory back. So we've got our friend Percy Jackson fully back in the mix.
Also, how long it took us to find each other in the dang airport today.
I was in the most elegant, baggage claim section ever. There were couches, there were chairs, which was good because I did have to take a nap there because I checked like a big suitcase since I'm doing the whole Midwest tour. I checked a big suitcase, which I learned the hard way has a weight limit. I've never, pre-having a baby, I never was a checked bag person with like the big suitcase. But then we had the baby, we were like, let's get a big one. And then we've done a couple of trips with her and we filled it and it's like never been a problem. But when you fill a big suitcase with notebooks, posters, pins, and a lot of shirts.
Oh, and your TNO bricks that you've been selling.
Oh, yeah, right. The TNO cinder blocks, which we've now got. We've also got TNO dumbbells. It turns out to be 74 pounds. Look, I saw that number on the scale and I was like, okay. You know who didn't say that? The person at American Airlines.
She said, are you standing on it?
She asked, are you standing on the scale? And I went, no. And then my brain went, oh no, I wish I was. And then she charged me $200 when I had already paid to check it. She was very upset with me. I don't know why. She was about to make her company $200.
Which she gets? No.
Yeah, she's not working on commissions. So when it was checked and everything, I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to like wait in a lounge for Johnny. I'm going to go to baggage claim and make sure my now very expensive luggage is safe and secure. So then I got that and then napped in the baggage claim. But Kelly, who I was on the phone with, was like, well, you don't want people to steal this stuff. Now, I don't know that that's rampant in the baggage claim section of the MSP airport.
Do you know these people?
Yes, they're all very nice from what I've gathered. I slept with one leg through the like handle of my suitcase and one leg through the like backpack straps of my backpack, like on a chair like this. Great 1 hour nap. And then Johnny called me and was like, I'm in a different place. And then we had to find each other. So anyway, we're here to talk about a book. So, Percy's got his memory back. As the narrator, he kind of lists the key events that he recalls now. And then he ends it with, quote, most of all, Annabeth, 2 great months of dating, and then boom. So he didn't get a whole lot of good run there before having 8 months of his life stolen by Hera/Juno. Because of that, Percy wants to slap Hera/Juno/whatever, quote, upside the head next time he sees her. And yeah, I mean, 8 months of your life, that is quite significant. If you just had that deleted, I would be furious as well.
He actually says that he's going to give her a goddess-sized slap upside the head, which is like some Def Jam level insult.
There's a song, I think the song is called Oops Upside the Head. It's like an old like funk song from the 70s. Let me just quick Google Oops Upside, or is it Oops Upside Your Head? Or is it Oops Upside Yo Head?
Hera's head?
Oh, yes. So there is, but of course, it was a song by the Gap Band called Oops Upside Your Head, but it's also, Google saying it might be called, the original title, I Don't Believe You Want to Get Up and Dance. And then in parentheses, oops. Interesting. Yes, that one does open with oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. My dad had a CD called Pure Funk that I used to listen to on my Sony Walkman. Or my Sony Discman? Discman. I'm not that old. All right. Percy Jackson. So, wants to slap her oops upside the head, just like the Gap Band. Percy is worried about his family, his friends, and Camp Half-Blood. What's even worse is that saving the camps, plural, isn't even the end because they have to then win the real war in the homeland of the gods. The giants are planning to attack the original Olympus to end the gods for always and eternity. Now, from Nico, Percy knows that the giants are invincible unless gods and demigods team up against them. And Annabeth had also suspected this about the Great Prophecy, aka the Prophecy of the Seven. Quote, that was the downside of dating the smartest girl at camp. You learn stuff. And this is like Kelly being married to me, someone who's chronically online. You learn how many celebrities suck. Percy also understood Juno's plan. Unite the Roman and the Greek demigods to forge a super team and then get the gods to agree to fight by their side. And unfortunately, the first step in this plan is save Camp Jupiter, so they gotta make sure they do that before they can do anything else.
Presumptuous of Percy to think he'd be on the super team. I mean,
I think Percy Jackson has a healthy dose of recognizing he's Percy Jackson.
Yeah, fair. That's right.
At the right, respectable level.
Yeah.
So they finally arrive at the hill atop Caldecott Tunnel, and Hazel tells Arion that he did great, and the narrator Percy says, quote, "The horse was too tired even to cuss. Of course I did great. What did you expect?" Percy and Frank leave the chariot. Percy is not feeling particularly great given how bumpy the ride was. Frank is also looking a bit rough, but he heads to the top of the hill. He looks down at Camp Jupiter and he tells the others to come over because they got to get a load of this.
Sorry, I need to bring us back to Percy. He said that he was so stiff that if his enemies faced him in battle, they'd call him Old Man Jackson.
You would love that line.
Old Man Jackson. It's so good.
It's very good. It is very good. So they look over, they see what's going on. They see that the battle has begun and it is not going well for Camp Jupiter. And I was disappointed in the fact that the battle was already going on because in between the last time that they talked about getting ready for a battle and they said that the Legion was going to muster, in between doing that and then going over Sherry's edit of the episode, I thought, oh, you should have made a cool Kendrick Lamar muster joke. So I was like, great, next time they use the word muster before the fight, I'll make that joke. And then the fight's already happening, so they don't have to muster. Ah, damn.
If only there was going to be more fights in these books.
But will they muster for the fights? I don't know, but I will always be ready. Now, they've got the scorpions that are firing into the swarms of Jegenes. They've got Hannibal, our elephant friend, attacking monsters left and right. But our Camp Jupiter friends are vastly outnumbered. Reyna is flying atop Polybites on Scipio, keeping him busy. The purple layers are fighting against a group of evil shades in this eerie, ominous black shade. Veteran demigods from the reserves are in the fight. They're fending off some of the evil centaurs. The giant eagles are flying and fighting Stheno and Uriel. Very excited for a Stheno return. Always love when Stheno finds her way back in.
Cheese and wieners.
Devastated that crispy cheese and wieners were not name dropped in this chapter.
I know.
I was really looking for it. The Legion is taking most of the attack, but their formation is breaking down. Narrator Percy says, quote, "Each cohort was an island in a sea of enemies. The Cyclopes have a siege tower, and from that they are lobbing glowing green cannonballs into the city. Hazel thinks that they're too late, but Percy basically goes, it ain't over till it's over. Frank asks, where is Lupa, as she and the wolves were supposed to help them out. Percy knows from his time with her that he knows from his time with her that the wolves are not frontline fighters. They attack when they have the advantage, under the cover of darkness, when they have the element of surprise, when they have the numbers. They're not going to be here. Percy, as the narrator says, quote, besides, Lupa's first rule was self-sufficiency. She would help her children as much as she could, train them to fight, but in the end, they were either predator or prey. Romans had to fight for themselves. They had to prove their worth or die. That was Lupa's way. So Percy responds to Frank that Lupa did what she could in slowing them down on their way south, but now it's up to them. They must deliver the eagle and the weapons to the Legion. Hazel doesn't think that they can do it alone, and she's worried that Arion is gassed. Percy says, quote, maybe we don't have to. And then he thinks that if Tyson got his dream message, help might be close. And I was like, ooh, Ella, right. Hopefully everything's okay there. Narrator Percy.
Everything is more than okay.
It's very good. Narrator Percy says, quote, he whistled as loud as he could, a good New York cab whistle that would have been heard all the way from Times Square to Central Park.
These books were written for you. These books were literally written for you.
I love it. I don't know that I've ever actually heard someone do like a proper whistle. Like, I feel like you usually just kind of do the raise your hand thing.
I think in like 1952, with men wearing top hats and suits would do it, and maybe not since.
I'd have to ask my dad if he has ever done it, because Joel does a mean two-finger dad whistle. He's so good at it that he doesn't have to put his fingers in his mouth. Like, he can just do the like that. Oh, he's such a dad. He's such a dad. So shadows then ripple, and Mrs. O'Leary carrying Tyson and Ella on her back appear. And I forgot about this angle. I forgot about Mrs. O'Leary also being in the mix. So really, a bunch of help is coming. Frank naturally freaks out because a hellhound just showed up. Percy explains, no, don't worry, they're my friends. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess the Cyclops would also be scary, since they're looking at a bunch of evil Cyclopes fighting. And then Tyson screams, brother, and hits Percy with a huge hug. Oh, I had an ear-to-ear smile reading this today. Just delightful for Tyson to be back in the mix. It's been so long. I love it.
We love the Percy gang getting back together.
It's really good. It's really good. Now, we also learn that he's wearing flannel, which I think is a great look for Tyson. Tyson says, "You're not dead. I like it when you are not dead." Perfect. So glad he's back. Ella proudly announces that she found this large dog in Cyclops, and narrator Percy wonders if she's blushing. We'll see in a little bit. Mrs. O'Leary then tackles Percy for a very lick-forward hug. Hazel goes, "You have a hellhound named Mrs. O'Leary?" Because Percy was going like, "Oh, I love you too, Mrs. O'Leary." And Percy says, "It's a long story." And then he tells her that she can ask Nico for more information, but then his voice begins to falter as he says this because Hazel's facial expression shows that she is crestfallen, and Percy only then remembers, "Oh, right, Nico's missing. This might be a sore subject."
This is pretty peak Percy.
Yeah. It's pretty on brand. Narrator Percy says, quote, "Hazel had told him what Thanatos had said about searching for the doors of death in Rome, and Percy was anxious to find Nico for his own reasons, to wring the kid's neck for having pretended he didn't know who Percy was when he first came to camp. Still, he was Hazel's brother, and finding him was a conversation for another time." And I was like, yeah, in book 3! So Percy apologizes, then he introduces everybody to each other, and then he asks Ella if she's doing all right because they were all worried about her. She says that Tyson took care of her and that she's thankful because Tyson is strong, and she is not strong.
Cyclopes are strong. Tyson found Ella. Tyson took care of Ella.
In their...
I don't know if Ella's blushing. I'm blushing.
In their different ways of arriving at similar manners of speech, they are absolutely perfect for each other. Like both in like this staccato rhythm of speaking, Ella just because that's like how she speaks, and then Tyson because he's more of that like childlike naive vocabulary. Like they are a really fun match that I never ever would have conceived of, but I love it.
I'm so glad you're Team Ella now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a late turnaround, but she got really good really quickly and then went away, and now she's back, and now she's with Tyson. Like, come on. Oh, it's so good. So good. So I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So the narrator Percy says, quote, "Percy raised his eyebrows. Ella was blushing." Oh, so fun.
Johnny was blushing.
Percy calls Tyson a big charmer, and then Tyson blushes profusely, and then he whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear, "She is pretty." This is about how good I am at whispering. I am not a very adept whisperer, so I feel some kinship to Tyson here. Frank gets everyone back on track with, "Anyway, there's this battle happening." And I love that Rick always does find a way to throw in the comedy because it had been a while since like something truly funny had happened. And then he also does realize, like, let's have some laughs, but let's utilize the laughs to get into this big fight that you all want to see. Like, Rick knows exactly what he's doing at every single moment, and he's just a master of his craft.
Completely.
So Percy then asks Tyson where Annabeth is, and Tyson responds, "The big ship is not ready. Leo says tomorrow, maybe 2 days, then they will come." And I was like, okay, this is all we've got for the fight. Percy says, they don't have 2 minutes, let alone 2 days. But despite this, he formulates a plan and relays it to the team. Tyson is displeased to learn that there are evil Cyclopes that he has to fight, as well as evil centaurs. Quote, "I have to hit ponymen." Percy says all he has to do is scare them away. And Frank is worried about Tyson, asking, is he going to be okay? Is he much of a fighter? And then Percy smiles. Is he a fighter? Frank, you're looking at General Tyson of the Cyclops Army. And by the way, Tyson, Frank is a descendant of Poseidon. And then, of course, huge big hug. Percy knows exactly what he's doing. Tyson yells, "Brother!" and gives him this big ol' hug.
This is like the GEICO commercial. Is Tyson a fighter? Did the little piggy cry wee, wee, wee all the way home?
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Percy fights back a laugh and says, actually, he's more like a great. Never mind, he's your brother. Which is great. Frank, who is crushed in the hug, goes, "Thanks," and then states that his concern is the Roman legion mistaking Tyson for an enemy Cyclops. So Hazel has an idea. She pulls out a huge Roman helmet and an SPQR banner and hands them to Tyson for him to wear. What's fun is even though the helmet is big and the banner is a banner, the helmet is way too snug of a fit on his head, and the banner, instead of him wearing it like a cape, he wears it down the front, but since he's very large, it just looks like a little bib. A little baby bib, which I now have experience with. And look, baby bibs, clutch. You need them. They're great. We get great use out of those.
My wife is from Alabama, and her sister still lives in Alabama, and her sister's daughter, my niece, just learned to say bib, and she says bib, and it's the cutest thing ever.
Oh.
Bib.
Oh my goodness, the baby Southern accent. Oh, incredible. So, he's got the things on too small. Percy says, it'll work. And then he tells Ella to stay here and to stay safe. And then Ella does her thing where she says a bunch of things of like, safety deposit box, bing, bang, boom. But then ends this little tangent run with, Ella will go with Tyson. And Percy goes, wait, what? And then he goes, okay, fine, whatever. For the podcast people at home, Johnny is fanning himself like a Southern belle.
With my bib.
With his bib in Alabama. But Percy goes, okay, look, as long as you don't get hurt, that's fine. Go for it. And then narrator Percy, I was not expecting this, but this is very cool. Narrator Percy goes, and Mrs. O'Leary, and she goes, roof. And he goes, how do you feel about pulling a chariot? Oh, very cool. What a fun vibe. That's the end of chapter 49, which I've retitled, My Brother Turns Red, because I thought that's a fun ominous of like, ooh, what does it mean? Like, does he get very angry? Does he get embarrassed? Does he get sunburned? What could it be? Is it the blood of enemies spilled on him? What do you have? Just like in the Red Wedding. What, I know a lot of people die, and that's it. What would have you retitled chapter 49?
My horse was too tired to swear.
All right, great, beautiful. Let's begin chapter 50. It's a chunky one, so we'll do a little bit of it, and then we'll have intermission, and we'll finish it. But chapter 50 is also called Percy. We will also retitle it. It opens with, quote, they were, without a doubt, the strangest reinforcements in Roman military history. Hazel is atop Arion, who had recovered enough to carry one human at normal horse speed. He is cursing about his aching hooves all the way down. Frank turns into a bald eagle, quote, which Percy still found totally unfair. Percy, how do you think Jason's gonna feel? The true American not being able to turn into an eagle will be devastating. He will be crushed. Crushed!
That's awesome.
Tyson runs down the hill, waving his club, yelling, bad ponymen, boo! So he's really taking the you just have to scare them off advice to heart. Ella is hovering around Tyson, reading facts from the old Farmer's Almanac. Is there a joke in here that I'm missing, or is it just a book for her to recite? Because it didn't feel like that had anything to do. The closest thing I could get was horse on a farm?
No,
maybe?
I think it could have just been like an encyclopedia. I think it's just,
okay.
Yeah, like, you know.
Long book with lots of stuff that she can speak.
Whole lot of facts.
Whole lot of facts. Percy is riding Mrs. O'Leary into battle with the chariot filled with imperial gold weapons and equipment clanking behind him, and he also has the 12th Legion standard raised high above him.
So is this not just the way better version of the Riders of Rohan showing up at Helm's Deep?
Yeah.
Is this not just that, but way better and way funnier?
Very cool. It is a much more interesting vibe. It feels like this scene in one of those, like, the group coming together walking in slow motion, but it just, like, looks weird, like when it's the Monsters, Inc. one and they're all sorts of strange, or like Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's like, yeah, we're cool, we're here to save the day, but you're like, is that a giant dog? Is that a giant wearing a bib with, does he have one eye? Is that an eagle? Was he a boy before? What?
But it's not Jason. I believe it was.
Oh my God, I didn't realize Frank's Canadian. Jason's gonna be so pissed. Oh my God, he's gonna be furious.
He's gonna have to turn into a maple leaf to get him back.
You can turn into a moose and that's it. Oh no, my poor boy. So they cross the most northern bridge over the little Tiber, and then they mutter Aelia acta est, and then they enter the field of Mars on the west side of the battle. They see a gaggle of Cyclopes attacking the 5th cohort, and they are just absolutely defending for their lives, but it's not going super well.
A gaggle of Cyclopes.
Yeah, that's the technical term.
Yeah,
Murder of crows, gaggle of Cyclopes,
Got it.
school of fish. Yeah. Narrator Percy says, quote, seeing them in trouble, Percy felt a surge of protective rage. These were the kids who'd taken him in. This was his family. Percy shouts, 5th cohort, and then slams into the nearest Cyclops. Mrs. O'Leary tears it to shreds, it turns into dust, and it stays disintegrated, which is huge. Glad to see Thanatos is doing his job and not playing cut the rope on his iPad. Look, it could be distracting. What if he has doodle jump?
These are like...
I'm using these references because it's specifically a 2011 iPad.
Yeah. Now it'd be like he's like brain rotting on B-Reel or something. I don't even...
No. So Percy doing this awesome fighting stuff. After this initial fight with the first Cyclops, Percy hops off Mrs. O'Leary and starts just slashing away. Tyson charges at Ma Gasket, who is surprised and can only let out a who before Tyson gets her. Quote, he hit her in the head so hard, she spun in a circle and landed on her rump. And this is the second time in a couple of chapters that rump has come up. I think in the episode that just came out at the time of recording, I was like, man, I gotta really start using rump more. And just mere days later, rump has found its way back into the vernacular.
What a rump.
I love rump. It's great. So she's on her rump. Tyson yells for her to go away and then hits her again, and that causes her to poof into dust, which I thought was very cool, but also I thought that Ma Gasket would be a little bit harder of a mini-boss to fight. I thought she'd be more than a two-punch sort of enemy. I thought there was going to be more to it, but Tyson just wrecks her shop.
Well, yeah, when you're knocked on your rump, it's hard to do anything from your rump when you're sitting on your rump.
Very true, yeah. You're prone on your rump. What can you do? Now, Hazel is riding around on Arion, slicing her Spatha through Cyclops after Cyclops, while Frank blinds them with his eagle talons. So they're making a cool 1-2 punch, I guess 1-1-1 punch. There's a whole trio going on with Arion and Hazel and him. It's great. I love the teamwork.
I want to hear you say slicing her Spatha through Cyclops after Cyclops 5 times fast, because that was super impressive.
Slicing her Spatha through Cyclops after Cyclops, slicing her Spatha through no! It is hard.
Yes.
The through was the hardest because everything is the S's, but then the TH gets you. Yeah. But let's all just remember that I got it right the first time, and it was very impressive. Now, eventually, every Cyclops within a 50-yard radius has been turned to dust. Frank turns back into a human. His Centurion badge and his mural crown are shining, and he announces that they, the cohort, can obtain Imperial gold weapons from the chariot. Percy helps hand them out. Dakota is amped up on a combination of adrenaline and the sugar from the Kool-Aid that he's been drinking from his flask. Narrator Percy describes the cohort as now looking like they went shopping at a King Midas clearance sale with all of the mismatched gold, weapons, and outfits and equipment. Despite looking a bit silly, they are now the most impressive and powerful cohort in the entire Legion, so they're prepped for battle. Frank calls for them to follow the eagle into battle, and I totally thought that he was referring to himself in the third person. I thought he was like, all right, everybody, follow the eagle into battle, and then he animorphs into a bird and then flaps away. And it took me a good beat to be like, oh, the standard, but of course. So that is what he's actually referring to.
Admittedly ambiguous.
Yeah. Narrator Percy says, quote, the campers cheered as Percy and Mrs. O'Leary charged onward. The entire cohort followed. 40 extremely shiny gold-plated warriors screaming for blood. Which is great. I love that they're all amped up and ready to go. And at this point, I was wondering, right, isn't the gold eagle standard, isn't it supposed to have some sort of power, but we'd never actually seen it being used, so I was wondering, does it actually have power, or is it going to be like Michael's Secret stuff from Space Jam, where it is not actually filled with power, but it is just everyone believing that they are overcoming the evil, they're in the right headspace?
I thought it was steroids. I misread that movie.
So at this point, I was wondering, like, I thought there's supposed to be like some sort of like electric power. That feels like what they mentioned before. We'll see in a little bit. So they defeat a horde of evil centaurs that were battling against Cohort 3. The campers all found this new vigor when they saw the standard. After decimating this group, Percy hopes to himself that Chiron will forgive him for doing so, but he could feel and sense that this was a different breed of centaur, one that had to be defeated. It is very helpful that the evil centaurs have big, evil-looking horns. It's quite convenient.
There's no way, though, that Chiron is going to be mad at him for this because he's advancing the plot at lightning speed. Right? Like, this is faster than most plot advancement for the whole book.
Yeah, Percy will explain all this to Chiron, and he'll be like, it was chapter 50 out of 52. You had to.
Yeah, exactly. I understand.
There's not enough time.
Yeah.
If this is chapter 26, I would have been enraged.
However,
but it's chapter 50.
Had there been important information to be divulged, we would have not let that happen.
Oh,
no chance.
Yeah, he checks. Did you say anything about what may happen in the next book? Oh, okay, yeah. You just killed some of my relatives? Yeah, you're good. Don't worry about it. Who needs them? Yeah. The two cohorts now form their ranks together, and they march towards the Earthborn with their shields locked together like they're the Spartans in 300. Frank shouts, no, that has to be an autocorrect. He doesn't yell pile. Doesn't he yell pila with an A?
He yells pile.
Yeah,
I swear it.
Yeah,
I'm staring at it right now.
No. My notes app said pile with an E, which I don't.
That's what he yells.
He was like,
pile.
dog pile, go get him!
That's what he yells.
So he yells, Pila, and then they all draw their spears, and then he yells, fire, and they thrust all of them, and making another 300 reference, I was like, oh, our spears will block out the sun.
So this was missing the most epic part of any fire scene in any movie, which is the hold. Fire! We needed that badly.
Do they do that in one of the Lord of the Rings movies at one point?
Probably all of them.
Okay,
they do that in every movie.
Sorry, I just always get too distracted by like a lot of skateboarding down the stairs.
Of course.
I'm just waiting like, is it going to happen?
Yeah.
They draw their swords, they charge through to the center of the battle, and at the base of the aqueduct, the first and second cohorts are trying to surround Polybides, but it is not going particularly well. The Earthborn are throwing stones and mud, the carpoi, and I was like, oh, right, the carpoi. The cereal friends are back. Oh, no. Here comes Special K and Total. Oh no.
It's all the friends from the episodes we've done together. So this is like a lovely little reunion for us.
This is wild that all of the episodes you have done for this book, it's been Stheno and Muriel, it's been the Carpoi. And in the Carpoi chapters also we did see like the army. So,
yeah,
like,
and Magasket. Yeah.
And you've really like come through. This is perfect. It's almost like it was planned. It was not.
Wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't it?
That's why we weren't on the same flight today.
That's what I heard.
Because I bought my tickets in November and you bought yours in March.
Just what I want him to think.
So they're fighting off them. The Carpoi, though, very dastardly. They are running through the grass and then snatching up campers and trying to drag them away from the fight. Kind of a sneaky little evil maneuver for them to pull. I kind of have to respect it. Because they're not big, so they're not necessarily going to work in a fight. But if they can like use their sneakiness to an advantage and hide through the grass,
sneaky like Count Chocula. We need more Count Chocula in our world. I think. I don't think we have enough Count Chocula content or memes.
I don't know if I've ever had a bowl of Count Chocula.
I've never had a bowl of Count Chocula. I don't know what it looks like.
Is it good?
Is it puffs? Is it little vampires?
Is it good? Yeah, all right. That's a very definitive eh.
I think we got to go get some tonight.
I don't know, but what if it's just eh? Instead, we could be getting something that's not eh, like Lucky Charms. Polybides keeps producing basilisks from his hair, just over and over and over again. Percy can see many corroded shields and smoking plumes, so he knows that these folks already know about the poison in the fire, so he probably doesn't have to warn them about it. Reyna is still above Polybides on Scipio. She's swooping in and stabbing with her javelin whenever she gets the opportunity. He is attacking back at her, but Scipio is nearly as nimble as Arion, so he's doing a pretty good job of avoiding all of the different blows. Reyna notices that Cohort 5 is entering the battle, and she is so surprised that she almost gets hit by the giant, but Skippy is able to dodge. She makes eye contact with Percy and smiles. She calls out for the Legion to rally to the Eagle, and everyone, enemies included, turns their attention towards Percy atop Mrs. O'Leary. And then Polybides asks, what is this? And then he asks, what is this in italics? So he's angry.
Raina is so cool.
I love Raina.
She is so, I want to be friends with her.
I'm all in on Raina. I think she's fantastic. I hope to see more of her. I feel bad for her particular situation in terms of the romantic interest with the Jason situation of it all. I'm not looking forward to her seeing him be so cute and adorable with Piper, but I love Raina. I'm all about it. I wish nothing but the best for her.
Tell me the prediction you made about Raina.
I've made it on the pod, and I'm not going to look at anybody's eyes just in case. But I want Raina and Leo to get together because I feel like they will be a perfect match. Leo is always drawn to strong, powerful women, but they always turn out to be evil. Raina, strong, powerful, but not evil. And now that I'm done looking up into the sky, I will continue on. Percy feels a rush of power running through the staff of the standard, and I was like, ooh, the power. So he raises it and shouts, 12th Legion Fulminata! And the narrator Percy says the following, quote, thunder shook the valley, the eagle let loose a blinding flash, and 1,000 tendrils of lightning exploded from its golden wings, arcing in front of Percy like the branches of an enormous deadly tree, connecting with the nearest monsters, leaping from one to the other, completely ignoring the Roman forces. When the lightning stopped, the first and second cohorts were facing one surprised-looking giant and several hundred smoking piles of ash. The enemy's center line had been charred to oblivion, and I was very happy to learn that the Eagle standard had whatever the thing is in D&D where your wizards have like friendly fire turned off basically, and you can just like drop a fireball into the middle of the group and then everyone else is like, yeah, we're okay. That's how magic works. I'm very glad that was on, so they could be like, lightning attack that kills everyone that we don't like.
Excellent aim is all it is. just impeccable aim. I'm just amazed that Percy's yelling 12th Legion Fulminata. He has not been in Roman land that long. Brazenly yelling Fulminata is quite the move. I'm impressed.
I guess he didn't lose that like instinctual Latin, which he was just kind of like regurgitating when he didn't have his memories. So
he took it in high school.
Yeah, probably. So narrator Percy, again with a really cool line, says, quote, the look on Octavian's face, and I was like, you motherfucker. The look on Octavian's face was priceless. The centurion stared at Percy with shock, then outrage. Then, when his own troops started to cheer, he had no choice except to join the shouting. Rome, Rome. So gosh, just the absolute worst. He sucks so much. I hate Octavian. All my homies hate Octavian. Polybides begins to retreat a bit, but Percy knows that there's no way it's going to be this easy. It's only chapter 50. The fourth cohort is still surrounded by Cyclopes. Hannibal is struggling a bit too. His Kevlar armor is ripped, and it only reads ant instead of elephant.
The good thing is we have a backup elephant now.
Oh, hey.
Right? Like, we're kind of fine if elephant number one. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just speaking the truth. We've got another one. Kind of.
The veterans in the lairs are being pushed to the city. The siege tower is lobbing fireballs into the streets. The Gorgons have conquered the eagles and are now rallying the remaining centaurs. And Earthborn Stheno yells, stand your ground, I've got free samples. And then,
commitment to the bit, unrivaled.
So committed. She's so committed. Polybides yells, he summons a dozen basilisks, and he bellows to Percy that this changes nothing, for he cannot be defeated. He says he will break Percy like he's a Von Drago in Rocky IV. Percy dismounts. He tosses the standard to Dakota. He reminds Dakota that he's the cohort's senior counselor, so that's why he gets to watch this, but also he must protect it. Dakota drops his flask and pledges to watch it with pride. And then Percy says, Frank, Hazel, Tyson, help the fourth cohort. I've got a giant to kill. And that is where we're going to take our break for intermission. Oh, it's
stop
so
now?
good.
Oh, my God.
It's so good. So good. Woo. So, if you are listening to the podcast after the fact, then we're going to take our mid-roll break here, the Son of Fortune. So let's all say goodbye to the podcast people. Goodbye, podcast people.
Hello and welcome to the Son of Fortune Shubio edition right before I fly up to Switzerland. Yes, we're doing a vacation in Switzerland. We're doing a live show in Switzerland. That's one of the updates. We've got some updates. Let's talk about those updates. Let's get into it first. Live show in Switzerland, May 25th. It's going to be great. We're going to be in Zurich. We're doing a show at noon on Sunday, May 25th. So if you want to come to an early show, you want to travel to the show, maybe you're one of my many, many listeners in Germany, which recently overtook the United Kingdom for number 2 country that listens to TNO behind America. That's wild. If you want to travel to the show, take a morning train, come through, go home after. It'll be wonderful. You can get tickets at thenewsolympian.com/live. I will be giving a free sticker to anyone who attends the show. And if you come from a country that is not Switzerland to the show, I will also have a free gift for you at the show as well, because that's ridiculous. This is the only show I'm doing in Europe this year. I do not know the next time I will be in Europe at all. I have no idea the next time we do a proper tour of Europe because we have a baby and it's a little tricky. So if you're hoping that I will come near you, this is the nearest I will be to Europe in quite some time, potentially years with an S. So if you want to come through, get tickets at thenewsolympian.com/live. And if you go to thenewsolympian.com/live, you'll see that we announced some new show dates. We've got shows in St. Louis, Kansas City, Providence, and Pittsburgh, all coming up this summer. So you can get your tickets there. And shout out to the folks who came to the Montreal show. Shout out to the folks who came to the Buffalo show. Both were absolutely delightful. And you all, podcast folk, will enjoy listening to the audio recordings of those in the very near future. Speaking of the very near future, once we finish our coverage of The Son of Neptune, I'm going to put on the Patreon shop the ability to purchase a download of the stream that we did for the first 2 chapters of Mark of Athena. You can just get on the Patreon shop. And then if you're one of the people who bought a ticket to the live stream, I'll send you a video version of that as well. That'll be at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. Speaking of the Patreon, I want to give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. So shout out to our newest God tier patrons, Claire and Redacted. They made their name Redacted. Either that or Patreon changed their name to Redacted because they tried to make it something saucy. And then shout out to our newest demigod tier patrons, Demon Rose and Schlutz Dog. Thank you all so much for your support. May Hypnos bless you that if you are going on a flight with a baby that's overnight, that they sleep on the plane. Hypnos, please come through. I would love it. Now, if you're all caught up on the News Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume, you're in luck because I make a whole bunch of content and I think you would like it. One that I think you'll really like is Potterless because it's very similar to the News Olympian. I also never read the Harry Potter books as a kid. That was the podcast I made before the News Olympian. And it's about me reading and going through the Harry Potter series for the very first time. I start with the books, I do the movies, I do some of the other stuff. I do fan-made stuff once I got to the point where J.K. Rowling became a publicly terrible person. And you can listen to that wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Potterless or by going to our website, potterlesspodcast.com. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors to make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me, and others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Switzerland, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in German, because that is the official language I've learned by prepping for this trip we're doing. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of the News Olympian.
Okay. Hope everyone had a good intermission. I missed you all so dearly. Don't mind us in our coats. It was just cold.
Literally freezing.
It is cold. I looked at the weather and it said it was 50 today. And I've learned that Minnesota 50 is different than New York 50. So I'm getting adjusted. This is warm. Yeah, I get it. For you. I do still have a very rosy opinion of Minnesota because I've only ever been here in August, July, and April.
And you're like, why do all the buildings have connection tunnels above ground between them? Why do they need that?
Why do people think NBA players wouldn't want to live here? It's lovely.
I think we would like it better in the winter because we could go ice fishing, which I'm all about. I want to try it so bad.
You are raving about ice fishing.
It sounds so sick.
It does sound pretty cool. All right, now, let's get back into Chapter 50. We've got the fight getting ready to happen. Percy said he's got a giant to kill. Percy raises Riptide, but before he charges, he hears horns blow in the distance, and it is the Amazons. I was very excited, but you know who's not excited? Frank. He does not have high hopes about them. Now, Frank's had a tattered history with the Amazons, so I kind of get it. Polybides, similar to Frank's thinking, thinks that the Amazons are going to be on his side. He thinks they're reinforcements. So they end up charging down with some of them holding spears, others of them in their forklifts, and the evil army all cheers until they change course and head straight for them. I would hope that they did this for comedic effect. Like, they were like, yeah, we're going to be fighting the Camp Jupiter opponents today. And then make a harsh right turn. The evil army is not cheering anymore, and now with the Amazons closer and closer, our team can see that it is Hilla that is leading them into battle.
Go!
She screams, "To my sister's aid, destroy the monsters!" And then they all chant, "Destroy!" Reyna rides up near Percy and shoots him a gleaming look that reads, "I could hug you right now." And then she calls for the Romans to advance. What kind of face are you? I mean, look, we've had it established that Reyna feels like, Percy Praetor, they could be a whole thing. But if Percy's had any one consistent thing going through this entire book, it's, I love Annabeth so much.
Yeah, he's kind of a one-trick Percy at this point.
Also, I'm getting a little warm, honestly, for moving around on stage. So I am going to get back into non-jacket mode. What? Huh?
Said yeah.
What? Oh. How does this keep happening?
Every time.
One of us is going to have to change. Before the tour, I asked Johnny when we were planning on packing stuff, I was like, are we going to do the pug shirt bit? And Johnny was like, are we going to do the pug shirt bit?
Does the little piggy cry, wee, 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 on the way up?
Oh, man. So, anyway, Percy Jackson. Narrator Percy then says the following quote, "The battlefield descended into absolute chaos. Amazon and Roman lines swung toward the enemy like the doors of death themselves." Has Percy seen the doors of death? Are they literal doors? Does he know that they can swing? What if they're sliding doors? What if they're garage doors?
What if they're revolving doors?
Ooh, you can't slide, or you can't. What
Kind
is
of like
it?
a Buddhist interpretation of the doors of death, right?
Oh. You can't swing those. But Percy had only one goal. He pointed at the giant. You, me, to the finish.
Intermission again.
All right, we'll see you guys later. See you in 15. They meet at the aqueduct, which Percy is surprised is still intact, and then Polybides thrashes it to unleash a waterfall, so it is not intact anymore. And at first I was like, oh, cool, water will make Percy stronger. And I was like, that will also make Polybides stronger. Dang. So Polybides taunts, quote, "Go on then, son of Neptune, let me see your power. Does water do your bidding? Does it heal you? But I am born to oppose Neptune." Polybides puts his hand in the water, it turns dark green, and then he chucks it at Percy. Percy dodges it, but the grass where it lands withers and smokes, so not ideal. Polybides explains that his touch turns water to poison, so he's curious as to see what it will do to Percy's blood. I am not curious to see that.
We kind of got that it turns water to poison after you put your hand in it and then you threw it at the grass and the grass hissed. That was like, we kind of were there with you, Polybides.
So then he throws a net at Percy, but Percy rolls to avoid it, and Percy diverts the waterfall into the giant's face. What?
Tornado alarm.
Yeah, wait, did the second one of those happen yet? The first one happened.
It did.
When did it happen?
When I was walking to UPS.
Oh, okay. So I was. Oh, yeah. I didn't say that for the intermission. Hopefully, everyone learned that we have bookmarks at the merch table, and if you buy anything, you can get a bookmark that has all of the chapter titles that I retitled the chapters for in The Lost Hero. So you get a free book. The merch table will be open after the show. We were able to get 50 of them before UPS closed and ran out of time to print them. So if you buy literally anything on the merch table, you can get one of those for free.
So I was risking my life going to get these dang bookmarks while this person is in the basement, can't even hear the siren because he's doing what he's supposed to do during a tornado, being in the basement.
I was not in the basement.
Okay.
I was here doing sound check.
Okay, that's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
No, but that first siren happened today in the afternoon, and it lasted for like 5 straight minutes. And thankfully, someone DM'd me on Instagram that was like, hey, by the way, they're doing like siren testing. Thank God. Otherwise, I would have been confused. Because the other time it happened, you also weren't with me. You were grabbing coffee earlier this morning.
And I would have been the Midwestern voice of reason to be like, it's definitely a test.
I would have been like, Johnny, it's been going on for 5 minutes. What do I do? What do I do?
Test.
Our hotel is on the undisclosed floor. We got to get down. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So the giant has been stunned by the waterfall being diverted into his face. So while this stunning is happening, Percy runs up and plunges Riptide into his chest and then jumps away. And this would have been enough to kill your standard issue monster, but Polybides just staggers back and begins to bleed ichor, but his wound is already closing. Good try, demigod, but I will break you still. And Percy goes, gotta catch me first. To which I wrote, LOL, what? And then Polybides goes, what? I love it. I love that Percy is still, even though he is a prominent fighter, he has been offered immortality by the gods, he is still a teenage boy. It's fantastic.
He's still, tag, you're in.
Yep. Nuh-uh. Percy rushes into town. Polybides is confused, thinking that Percy is fleeing. Percy is not fleeing. He lets us know, the narrator, don't worry, I'm not a coward, folks. He lets us know that he has a plan, but he's not gonna tell us yet, and Chiron is very excited. He rushes past Mrs. O'Leary, who has a gorgon in her mouth, and I was like, I hope it's Uriel and not Stheno. I would love the redemption arc of Stheno. He runs past that. Mrs. O'Leary's confused. Percy goes, don't worry, I'm fine. He then jumps over a scorpion. He ducks under a thrown enemy from Hannibal. He catches a glimpse of Tyson wrecking shop on an Earthborn. Ella is giving Tyson advice like, hit him in the groin, da-da-da, like she's the co-pilot in a rally car race. Then after this, Tyson asks Percy if he needs any help. Percy goes, I'm good. And Polybides is hot on his tail. Hazel and Arion are destroying the wheat. Hilla and Reyna are fighting side by side. Quote, Forklift and Pegasus riding together. Scattering the dark shades of fallen warriors.
As the gods intended.
Just as Homer wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frank turns into an elephant, I guess so that he can realize his dream with his good
two
elephant friend.
Got two of them.
Dakota holds the eagle high and zaps people with lightning. And this is just great. I can visualize this sort of scene happening. One of those, like one after the other, like here's what this person's doing. Here's what this person's doing. It's really, really fun. Then it comes back to narrator Percy, who says, quote, all that was great, but Percy needed a different kind of help. He needed a god. And I wrote in my notes, Terminus? Thinking he's run into town. I know a guy. And we'll just have to see what happens. Percy looks back and he sees that he is almost within Polybides' striking distance. So he ducks behind one of the columns of the aqueduct, and when it breaks, he channels the water to crush it and move some bricks and crumbled bits into Polybides. Percy then bolts for the city limits, yelling Terminus to get his attention. Then Terminus goes, completely unacceptable. Buildings on fire. Invaders. Get them out of here, Percy Jackson. Percy says, I'm trying, but there's this giant Polybides. Terminus says that he knows, and then he stops talking to Percy for a second so that he can concentrate and destroy an incoming cannonball. He says that he can't block all of them, and he asks, why can't this enemy army just be civilized and attack more slowly?
Not to keep making Harry Potter comps, but he gives me very strong Sir Cadogan vibes. Just
he's like Sir Cadogan mixed with who was Phineas Nigellus?
Yeah,
where he's got the grouchiness of him, the protectionness of Cadogan, but he's more, I don't know, he's more competent. Like Sir Cadogan's kind of like a goof and he's so bad at what he does.
He's like Sir Cadogan in one of the good suits of armor and Phineas Nigellus.
Yeah, there it is.
We got it. We got it.
Mm-hmm. But no, Terminus is so fun. And you know who hasn't shown up that I wanted to show up? Who's the lair old guy that I really liked? Vitellius. Where's Vitellius in this chapter? He better show up in the next chapter. Otherwise, I'm going to write Uncle Rick a nasty email and then save it to drafts.
Because, as I was going to say, as a content creator, you know how much you love it when people write you emails correcting your work. It's your favorite thing, right? You should all do that right now.
If anyone is thinking of writing a comment or an email that says missed opportunity, delete it. I don't want to hear about your great joke that you thought of that's worse than mine. It's fine. You can do it.
They all are.
Every now and then one comes through and I'm like, God, okay, fine. I did miss that opportunity. You're right. But don't get high and mighty. Percy says that if Terminus helps him kill the giant, this will all be over. Terminus says that he protects borders. He doesn't kill giants. It's not in the job description. And Percy goes, Terminus, come on. And
we don't love borders. What are we doing? I'm not a big border guy. Come on, Terminus.
He steps closer, and Terminus tells him to stop right there, as there are no weapons allowed inside the Pomeranian line. I was
Pomeranian line.
My whole brain was, don't call it the Pomeranian line.
But how cute would that line be? That would be a real cute line.
So fluffy, so fluffy. Percy says they're under attack. Terminus says, I don't care. Rules are rules. When people don't follow the rules, I get very, very angry. And I went, whoo. And Percy goes, hold that thought. And he smiles, and it initially becomes very clear that he's going to goad Polybites into crossing the line, and Terminus will decide to help them out. So Percy runs towards the giant and goes, hey, ugly! And then Polybides gets up. He's dripping in green poison water, and he grabs his trident. Perfect. We needed the weapon to really set off Terminus. And he promises Percy that he will die slowly. The battle is winding down around them as the monsters are finished off. The Legion starts gathering and forming a ring around the giant like it's high school and two kids are fighting. Did you ever have people do a fight like this in high school?
No, only in the movies. I never saw it.
Not
you saw it?
At St. Thomas Catholic Boys High School. One fight my senior year, second semester.
Because you're shoving all of it down so deep, it's got to come out somehow.
What was this thing like freshman year? They're like, oh yeah, and then that across the way on the other side, across the street from campus is Jackson Hill. That's where you go to fight. So like freshman year, you're like, oh, that's where fights are. And then 3 school years go by and you're like, nobody fights at this school. And then senior year, it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so and so-and-so are gonna fight. And then everyone in the school wants it to happen because for 3.5 years, they've been waiting for a fight. So then these two kids did have a fight after school. And what's not the wildest part is the fight, but there were people rushing so much to go to the fight that there were kids that like got into someone's car that was parked on campus and drove so fast to see the fight and not miss it that they went over a speed bump not knowing, and they were going like 60-something miles an hour, caught air, landed, skid, and then drove into someone's house.
This is the best story ever!
Thankfully, everyone was okay. I was, of course, attending the fight. Because one of my friends was in it. Otherwise, I would have passed, but I was like, I gotta make sure person I will not name is okay.
You were the second.
No, God, no.
You were the 5th.
I feel like this was post-growth spurt Mike Schubert, but this was not hitting the gym Mike Schubert. I don't know. I've never been in a fight. I don't know how to do anything in a fight.
Was it post-bull cut Mike Schubert?
Yes, because it was second semester senior year. And I got the bowl cut during Christmas break. It was a huge move. But, I turned out all right. But I was attending the fight, and it was like about to happen. We all got in the big circle, and like couple blows were thrown. And then this like, he was probably like 6'4", but to us, he was probably like 8'12". This huge ripped dude in this very tight fit Run DMC t-shirt with flowing blonde hair walks in. I guess he like lived in or was walking to the park, and he just walks and goes, what the is going on here? And 200 teenagers dispersed all over, running all their different ways.
I've stopped myself from swearing like 15 times tonight because I did not know that this was a 21 and over bar, so.
It's the only 21 and over place on the tour.
Got it, good to know. Thank you. Noted.
But yeah, so fights do happen. They do happen. It was pretty underwhelming. It was very short-lived before Run DMC Man broke it up.
Ever since I watched the Christmas Story, or A Christmas Story, I should say, and the scene where they fight and he like literally makes the bully's nose bleed like intensely and then he starts sobbing, I like can't even think about it. It makes me so sad.
Yeah, no. No, thankfully, like it broke up before anyone like truly got hurt, which is good because one of the people in the fight was on the wrestling team, which is like, fighting the sport. Wasn't going well for the person who wasn't the wrestler, who was my friend.
But did the wrestler also like wear a trash bag to sleep and starve himself before the fight so he could make weight?
Anyway, Percy Jackson. The battle is winding down. The Legion forms this ring. Polybides says, I will take you prisoner, Percy Jackson. I will torture you under the sea. Every day the water will heal you, and every day I will bring you closer to death.
I will torture you under the sea. Sorry.
It will be your slaughter under the water. Percy says, great offer, but I think I'll just kill you instead. Polybites yells, more snakes summon. Frank warns people to get back. Campers are scared. They scatter like a Run DMC shirt-wearing guy just asked what was happening. Hazel, atop Arion, tries to defend them, and then Frank turns into what narrator Percy thinks is a weasel, ? And he thinks it's a really silly move. It's a mongoose, clearly. And, of course, all of the basilisks freak out. And Frank did learn that from Iris earlier, right? Or someone let him know, right? Like, someone told him that basilisks were weak to mongeese? Weasel. Oh, so it is a weasel. Is it? Okay. But in real life, mongoose are good against snakes, right? Yeah. Cobras. Ah, not basilisks. How could I forget? Percy thinks this is silly, but it's actually fantastic. All of the basilisks scatter. Polybides points his trident at Percy and rushes towards him. And Percy goes all toreador on him and dodges out of the way so that Polybides crosses the Pomerian line. And then Terminus goes, that's it, that's against the rules. And perfect. He's so great. Polybides asks Terminus what he is and then tells him to shut up. And Terminus goes, now I'm mad. I'm strangling you. Feel that? Those are my hands around your neck, you big bully. Get over here. I'm going to headbutt you so hard. And Polybides screams, enough! And then breaks Terminus into 3 pieces. And at first I was like, oh no. And then I was like, wait, aren't there like a lot of these? What's one broken statue? Because, right, aren't there like a bunch of statues and then he like... Yeah. So like, it's fine. It's okay. And then Terminus screams, you didn't! Percy Jackson, you've got yourself a deal. Let's kill this upstart. Polybides starts to laugh so hard that it is too late for him to realize that this is not a joke, and Percy is actively charging at him. So then we get this quote from the book. Percy jumped up, vaulting off the giant's knee, and drove Riptide straight through one of the metal mouths on Polybides' breastplate, sinking the celestial bronze hilt deep in his chest. The giant stumbled backward, tripping over Terminus's pedestal and crashing to the ground. While he was trying to get up, clawing at the sword in his chest, Percy hefted the head of the statue. And Polybides yells that Percy will never win because he cannot defeat him alone. And Percy says he's not alone. I'd like you to meet my friend Terminus. He's a god. And
I am no man.
Yeah, it's good. Kelly's going to be so proud of you.
There's a lot of Lord of the Rings content here.
She's going to be so proud. So then the book says, too late, awareness and fear dawned in the giant's face. Percy smashed the god's head as hard as he could into Polybides' nose, and the giant dissolved, crumbling into a steaming heap of seaweed, reptile skin, and poisonous muck. Percy staggered away, completely exhausted. Ha! Said the head of Terminus. That will teach him to obey the rules of Rome. So good.
That was a very violent death for Polybides. It was like quite... I think on the like scale of Percy Jackson villain deaths, this was like on the violent side.
Well, this one, I don't know technically. Is this book technically young adult and not middle grade? Are we allowed to bash people's heads in with statues now? Is that? Yes? Okay.
Like,
cool.
I'm just saying it's a good thing he dissolved.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, it would be a gruesome sight.
We can talk about it though, because it's 21 plus.
Yeah. The battlefield is silent other than some fires and some retreating monsters. Everyone is standing in awe, but then the Romans begin to cheer, Percy, Percy, Percy. And then we get this quote from the book. They mobbed him. Before he knew it, they were raising him on a shield. The cry changed to Praetor, Praetor. And I was like, ooh.
Chills. Nothing but chills in this moment.
Very, very interesting, because what happens when Jason comes back? Oh my goodness. And then it continues. Among the chanters was Raina herself. And I was like, Raina? He's spoken for? Cool your jets? Who held up her hand and grasped Percy's in congratulation. I was like, it better only be in congratulation! Is it like this, or are the fingers interlocked? Is she rubbing her thumb like this? No! How cute is it?
Spoons, not forks.
Spoons, not forks. I always had it was mittens, not gloves, is how we would talk about it in the Northeast. I don't know about you Midwestern folk.
Is St. Louis the Midwest? I think it is. Do you all think it is? That's nice.
Okay, but now we're in this part of the Midwest. Is Ohio the Midwest? Ooh.
I thought it was. I don't know anything.
Ohio thinks it is. It's Ohio. Correct. Correct. So she's holding his hands. I'm a little worried. Narrator Percy continues. Then the mob of cheering Romans carried him around the Palmyrian line, carefully avoiding Terminus's borders, and escorted him back to Camp Jupiter. And that is the end of this chapter, which I have retitled, I Head On Into the Boss Fight. What do you have for the retitling of chapter 50?
I don't know, like Helm's Deep Redux or something.
Cool. Not enough skateboarding, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
That is the end of this chapter. That's the end of this episode. For now, if you're listening to the podcast, we will take a break and then get into the Q&A, which I'm sure will be very fun. So let's all say goodbye to the podcast people one more time. Goodbye, podcast people. Again.
So, my niece from the South says again. I kid you not.
Hey, it's Mike from the future here. Just a little break because this is a longer episode. We're going to do a little bit of a break. I was supposed to mention it when we were on an off week, and then I was also supposed to mention it last episode. So let me do this here and now and talk about the donation update that we did. What we do here at the News Olympian is every single time I take an off week for the podcast, I look at the number of downloads that we've gotten since the last time that I took a break. And I take $1 for every 1,000 downloads that we received across the whole catalog of the show, and then I donate it to charity. So simply by listening to the show, you help raise money for charity. So since the last time we took a break, we have acquired 729,000 downloads of the podcast, meaning that we'll be giving $729 to the Immigrant Defense Project. If you've been keeping up with American political news, it's tough goings right now for lots of different people, especially for folks that have immigrated to the country or whose parents have immigrated to the country or are here on various visas or green cards or whatever. People are getting deported for no good reason. And I found this charity, they do lots of different things. They do litigation, they do legal advice and training. They have a program helping with community defense from ICE raids. They do policy and advocacy. They bring community together. They do lots of different things that you can learn about at immigrantdefenseproject.org. And I think it's a really important time right now to support that because it's truly ridiculous what is happening. And I cannot believe the crap that's going on, and anything that I can do to help, I would love to do. So if you want to learn more, check out immigrantdefenseproject.org. And if you can support your community, please do. If you're here in the States, do anything you can to help your folks out because we need to band together because it's dire out there. It's wild. And I hope it changes soon. We're going to do a little bit of a break for more of the locally inserted ads, unless you're listening on Patreon where you don't get those. And once they are complete, we will get into the Q&A, which was very fun.
Let's do Q&A. Woo! All right. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Let's see if we can do it. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Here's one from Brittany, all caps. I saw Johnny in person. Thank you for coming to Minnesota. Third time this South Dakotan has come to see you. Thank you for coming from South Dakota. That sounds far. Johnny, thank you for coming to Minnesota again. What animal would you want to turn into and what would you do? Okay, wait, where did you see Johnny? Oh, you saw him like here. You saw Johnny in person. Oh, I thought you like saw him out and about in the streets today. Like at the coffee shop or something earlier.
Which would have been wild because I just stay in a closet in a straitjacket until he lets me out 20 minutes before these shows.
Come here, put the picture on.
Prods me with a cattle rod. Get out here.
Okay, so what animal would we want to turn into and what would we do? I feel like I would like to turn into a dolphin and then I could like swim. I could also surf and ride some waves and stuff. I feel like it would be a fun time. And then if I'm a dolphin, I'm still like really smart and stuff. I can also get high off of using pufferfish and stuff. Dolphins do that. Yeah, like the toxins. Yeah, so like I would be a fun time. I wouldn't do the other thing that dolphins do. I would do all the cool stuff.
I don't know, probably a golden retriever, which is definitely my spirit animal. I don't just want to be stupid and adorable.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, this one is from Kat. Subject line, the Jucy Lucy is overrated. Yeah, because you spelled juicy with an I, so you're not talking about the right one. Hi, Mike. 2 live show questions for you. 1, if our main 3 from The Son of Neptune were Sailor Moon characters, which one would they be and why? Do you know anything about Sailor Moon?
So I think one of them would definitely be Sailor Moon. I don't know which one.
Percy would be Sailor Neptune. Is there a Sailor Neptune? They're named after planets. There is. Yes. Oh, Hazel would be Sailor Pluto.
Hera would be Sailor June.
But then, who do we need? Frank? Oh, no. Frank would be Sailor Mars. I know nothing about Sailor Moon except for they do the cool transition thing, and they're named after planets. That's where it starts and ends. So let's go to the second one.
Wait. You and I, Sailor Loon.
Oh! Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Number 2, I'm a casual Timberwolves fan. What is happening with the Wolves right now? Let's see. You did get very upset at the Detroit Pistons recently. I mean, they're doing all right. They're part of that like absolute mess that's going on where like you could be the 2 seed or the 8 seed depending on how the tiebreakers go. So it's contentious right now. Currently, at least according to the internet, they are the 8 seed. So you're looking like you're in the play-in tournament. I don't know. The Wolves are like fine. They're doing all right. People are doing okay. Anthony Edwards is balling out of his mind, so that's cool.
That's what I was going to say is like you have a generational athletic superstar, and so every game is fun to watch no matter what.
Yeah, things are good. It was a confusing trade that you did with my team, but I'm very thankful for it. Thank you. We love Carl. He's great. But yeah, and then Alex Rodriguez now officially owns the team. Woo! Timberwolves. Yay.
I got a bone to pick with Mark Lore, but I won't get into that.
Oh, what's your bone to pick with Mark Lore?
I don't want to get into it.
You wanted to buy the Timberwolves with Alex Rodriguez.
Exactly.
P.S. Some smart TVs have Doodle Jump as an app now. Oh my God. Maybe we should rein it back what these TVs can do. All right, this one is from Tori. Tori says in the subject line, MSP, potential fund last question. Okay, yeah. Well, yep, correct. We'll save that for last because we've done that before. Trust me. Okay, we drove 4 hours to get to Minneapolis. How'd you get to St. Paul?
Wait, from where? Duluth?
Yeah, this is from PK. Where'd you drive from? Sioux Falls. Oh, okay. Thank you for driving. All right, and we got to drive back too. Be safe. All right, here's the question. If you had to redo the last season of Game of Thrones, how would you end it? I don't know, make it better? Do you want me to just like plug my ears and go la 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 la?
There just had to be consequence to all of it, which it didn't feel like there was. And okay, so they transitioned in like season 5.5 to 6 from sociological storytelling that was all about how institutions shape the people to psychological storytelling, which was very character driven and very like, meme, I drink and I know things driven. And that made it way worse. There, that's my take.
Cool, great. Glad you could do it since I know nothing. I'm like Jon Snow.
You know something, it sounds like.
This one is from Sydney. Sydney says, hi, Meg and Johnny. Thanks for coming to the Twin Cities. I got to meet Adam Mamawala at his show on Sunday, and now TNO tonight. What a great week. What a great week. Indeed. My question, in honor of it being the opening day of the Masters, I just learned it's the opening day of the Masters. How do you think different members of the PGA universe would fare at the Masters? So Masters is golf. It's like the World Series of golf, and you try to win a green jacket because it's golf.
If you win the green jacket, you can go to the Masters for the rest of your life. Even if you're like 100, you can play in it. It's wild.
I think it is kind of cool.
Yeah, but like, it's wild.
It is wild. It is super wild. But how would our members of the PGA universe fare at the Masters? For example, who would win? Who would choke? Who is throwing clubs, etc.? Clarice feels like a throwing clubs, breaking clubs over her leg person.
Yeah, easy. Uh-huh.
I feel like Grover, just because he is like the support and the protector, feels like he'd be the best caddy in the world. Especially caddy's like the person who carries the clubs and, like analyzes the greens and all that kind of stuff. Especially because being in tune with nature, he would like be able to read the ridges
Contours,
and the green
yeah.
and know like, oh, with this rough, you should use this club. I feel like he'd be really good.
Contours
with
is a
that.
great word. Contour. Jason would dominate, obviously.
Oh yeah, he would win. He would for sure be the winner. Leo would have like the funkiest set of clubs and stuff, but he would be terrible. Percy would be the type who like drives really far, but then gets very frustrated by the short game and all of that.
Drive for show, putt for dough. Am I right, Percy?
That is, yeah. And we got to move on because if these people don't know basketball, I don't think they will know golf. All right, this one's from Amanda. Subject line, Let's Go Crazy is the only Prince song I can think of.
That is the best Prince song.
Listen to Prince when you go back.
I love that Prince song.
Hi, Mike. Glad to be here from Omaha. Whoa, Maha. Now that you're deeper into the series, I have a few big picture questions. One, what's the most meaningful theme, idea, piece of advice you would take away from the book so far? Immortality would be awful. is my big takeaway. More of a serious answer, I think like a big takeaway and what I really love is that everyone is a very empathetic friend, or at least the characters that we like. So I think it really kind of drives home like communication, understanding other people's perspective, being honest, all that kind of open doors of communication stuff can really help you and your friends and your loved ones, etc. What about you?
I would say everyone has really valuable strengths to bring to the table, even if they're hard to see at first.
That's great. Number 2, conversely, what is the most useless, nonsensical piece of advice you would take away?
Immortality is
I guess that is the most useless because immortality is impossible.
not according to the weirdos in Silicon Valley, right?
I'm trying to think of like what I would that one guy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like the most useless non-essential would be like the very specific geographic things that I know. Like I didn't need to know that Caldecott Tunnel was called Caldecott Tunnel because it's like not like an important landmark type thing. Other places that they go to are huge landmarks, and that's just like a tunnel in the Bay Area. So I feel like it would be one of those things, or anytime I walk down Broome Street in New York, I'm like, ah. It's like a very non-important street in New York, but every time I cross it, I'm like, hey, the Grey Sisters, yeah.
I would say my most useless Percy Jackson piece of advice is if a retail establishment looks like it's run by a monster, it probably is.
All right, this one is from Shannon. Loons are the state bird of Minnesota. There we go. Love that.
What about gray duck?
Gray duck? Oh, yeah. What was this?
Duck, duck, gray duck instead of duck, duck, goose. It's my favorite thing ever.
It's just completely the same game, but you just say gray duck instead of goose?
It's the best.
And everything else is the same?
Uh-huh.
Sounds pretty good to me.
The University of Minnesota's Frisbee team is called Gray Duck. It's an
That's
amazing
good.
name.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Hi, Meg and Johnny. Last time you visited, I asked about moving to another country for grad school, and tomorrow I'm flying back to graduate with my master's. Oh, congratulations. So a related question, how would our friends, new and old, celebrate a big achievement? So the PJO and HO folk are celebrating something. What are they going to do?
Jason, dinner at like a nice steakhouse.
Yeah. Leo feels like just like have all of his friends over for like a movie night and get a bunch of like snacks and popcorn and stuff like that. Like, let's watch the John Wick movies or something like that. I feel like Piper would want something incredibly low key, like board game night, or like come over and let's cook dinner, like something super chill. She wouldn't want to make a big Hollywood type show of it. And then Percy would want to go to a water park.
Hazel would want to like meet up at the soda fountain.
That's good. Someone's got to want to do karaoke. The Stoll Brothers? Who's going to want to celebrate with like a big like private room karaoke?
Stoll Brothers feels. Are we missing?
No,
something?
Stoll Brothers would do like paintball or laser tag.
Yeah,
or something like that. But like, is there? I guess we don't know of any like performy like Apollo kids, but like someone's gotta.
Oh no!
Grover.
What's his name? Michael.
Michael Yu?
No, is he Apollo?
Yeah.
Yeah. He probably. We don't know.
Rachel Elizabeth Dare.
Oh, she would like to karaoke.
Yeah, I could also see her, just because now that she is the Oracle, I feel like she could have like, let's have a big slumber party and like, and tell ghost stories.
Yeah, we can do like the few like fortune tellers.
And do a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Okay, this one from Leah. Look up Minnesota Laser Loon. Oh. Should I open an incognito window or? Okay. Laser Loon, Minnesota. Oh, this is the thing that didn't win the state flag competition. I did dress as in the first act, as your new state flag. I had like the navy blue and the light blue and the white and the navy blue and the light blue and I was very stoked because I always check it out and I was like, oh, you guys updated the flag. It looks so much better. So this is cool. But
I had that one, you would have dressed as a loon.
Laser Loon is, and inspired by Anthony Edwards. There's one that has this and bring your ass underneath. Yeah. That's strong. Wow, that's powerful. I mean, look at that. Yeah. That's good.
I have one tattoo, but I might get a second.
Bring your ass. That's good. All right, that's cool. I love the Laser Loon. There's a lot that say read on it, and it's from the St. Paul Public Library. New St. Paul's Public Library card feature beloved Laser Loon state flag design. NPR News. Good news for devoted fans of the storied laser eye loon design from last year's Minnesota State Flag Competition. You can now get it on a St. Paul Public Library card.
The legend of Laser Loon continues to deliver.
I love it. Now, I know Major League Soccer teams don't do this as much. Minor League Baseball teams always do this, where they do this thing for like 1 week out of the year. The Trenton Thunder, my beloved hometown minor league baseball team, instead of being the Trenton Thunder, they're the Trenton Pork Rolls, which is like a regional meat sandwich that we have in Jersey. And, you know, the San Antonio Missions will become the Flying Choculas. Like, there'll be a fun thing.
There's a Rocket City Trash Pandas, yeah.
No, that's like their name all the time. And then they have another wilder name that it's something ridiculous. But then like there's a New York team that does the Pizza Rats or whatever. The Loons 1 week a year should be the Laser Loons. The soccer team should do this, and then it's like all the same, but then the logo's got like pew coming out that, come on. It's right there. I'm gonna send an email to Jim Minnesota United, the owner of. All right.
As a content creator, he loves it when people email him with ideas.
Missed opportunity. To be the Laser Loons for a week. Hi, Meg and Johnny. Welcome back to St. Paul. I love the show, and I can't wait for you to get to the third book at HOO. Then you should buy tickets to the live stream on Sunday. While I do like new characters we meet in these books, I do think the first 2 books are lacking from not having Grover. I agree. Here's my question. Who do you think would win in either a hacky sack game or a tin can eating competition? Coach Hedge or Grover? I would take Hedge in hacky sack and Grover in tin can eating. What do you think?
Grover in both. Hedge has no cool.
All right.
I know that you and I differ on Hedge. I'm pretty.
Oh, you don't like him, right? I love him.
Lukewarm on
love
Hedge.
him. I just feel like he probably hacky sacked a lot.
You want to talk about Circa Doggin energy? Hedge.
And this one says, "Oh, thank you for coming." Leah, not pronounced like Princess Leia. Nice. Let's move it on. This is from Rose. Howdy from the land of 10,000 lakes. Isn't it actually like 11,300 something? I learned that the first time I did a show here. Mike, we love the pod and have been loving the show. We want to know what you know about the Minnesota State Fair. Ooh. Whole lot of nothing. What do you know?
I think this is the Minnesota State Fair, but I'm not sure. A friend of mine used to live in Minnesota, and apparently there was some competition like an hour from here where they would all try to raise the biggest pumpkin. Whichever was the heaviest pumpkin, they would like, I don't know what the construction equipment word is, but they would like lift it up super high, like as high as it could go, and then just drop it. I don't know if that was at the State Fair or not, but I heard about that happening in Minneapolis or near Minneapolis.
Cool. I did just Google it. There appears to be a big gopher named Fairchild who greets fairgoers. Cool.
Are we missing something?
Oh, man, it got canceled in 1861 and 1862 for the Civil War. I like my state fairs that are here, rain or shine or racism.
So it's not the pumpkin thing, I take it.
Okay. Oh, okay, yep, okay, this is from Sheila. Pop is correct, and we also say pigs in a blanket. Yeah, we did go at Matt's, it did say pop, and I was like, are we in pop country? And Johnny said,
Deep pop country.
Sheila says, is it Sheila or Shayla? Sheila, okay, cool. Sheila says, hi, Mike. Finally able to make it to a Minnesota/Minneapolis/St. Paul live show. Love seeing how much you actually talk with your hands in person. Oh, if I ever wore a Fitbit, it would constantly be like, are you running the marathon? My question is, what do you think of all the main PJO/HO characters college majors would be, excluding Annabeth, who would obviously we know already? Thanks for a great show. Leo, I feel like could do like mechanical engineering of sorts, because that involves you can do things with like various vehicles. I could see Piper getting into like a theater major, but not to perform, but to be like behind the scenes, since she's not all about the Hollywood life.
Hazel geology?
Yeah. And then Jason, business, because he's an American. This one's from Jackson, Minnesota Live. If a minor god was elevated to have major god status, who would it be? And what would their throne look like? Ooh, I would like it if Hypnos was elevated to god Olympian status, and he just had like a really cozy throne that could recline all the way, like one of those beds at the business class of an airplane. And he just all the way is like, no, I'm listening, guys, don't worry, I'm totally listening. Oh, good idea, Zeus. What about you? A minor guy.
That's a perfect answer. I have nothing.
Okay. Cool. This one's from Andrew. Hi, Mike. You mentioned D&D abilities that turn off friendly fire. I can think of at least 2 abilities that do that. So you play, I play a little bit. If so, what class are you playing right now? So in the stream that I'm doing with 20 to Midnight, I'm a bard, which is very fun because I can just like talk my way out of all these different situations. I'm a human bard. And then in my current run of Baldur's Gate, the first time I did it, I was a rogue. I made my guy like a pop punk emo looking dude, and I named him Sobin Hood. And he was like a folk hero rogue. What I'm currently doing is my guy is I'm doing the Dark Urge run, but a reclaimed Dark Urge, and I am a Duergar, but he's someone who wishes that he was a drow, and his name is Menzo Baranzin. I can describe all of that. Drow are like a cool race of like dark elves that have like a lot of power and stuff, and like their hometown is called Menzo Baranzin. So this guy is Duergar, which is like a type of gnome? Like a type of dwarf that also has similar gray skin, but they're not from the same race. So he wishes that he was in this like cooler, like dark elf race, and his name is the name of the hometown, Menzo Baranzin, because Menzo Baranzin is so fun to say.
You kind of sound like a Muppet right now.
Waka waka! Oh, and then follow-up question. How would you build Percy Jackson? Oh, he would have to be, I feel like he could be, like Warlock feels like it makes sense because he can fight, and then you can do like the Pact of the Blade, so he could be like Pact to Riptide, right? But then Warlocks can also do magic, so you could use water abilities. Does that check out? Yeah? Okay, I'm not like super well-versed in playing a lot of D&D. I'm still feeling it out there. Johnny, what do you think?
I think you ought to roll those dice.
All right, this one's from Carissa. It says, go Timberwolves. Hi, Mike and Johnny. Thanks for coming to the Great White North. Which PJO character would play for the Timberwolves and why? Ooh, who would play for the Timberwolves and why? I'm going to say Thalia will be the first woman in the NBA. Because with all of her range, I just feel like she would be a markdown three-point shooter. And I think that she feels like she could have a wonderful time in Minnesota. Based on the vibe of Minneapolis and St. Paul, I feel like she would fit in perfectly here. And I think she'd have a great time on the Timberwolves.
I'm going to base this on last season alone. Kronos had an amazing regular season and just blew it in the playoffs.
That's pretty good. Okay, this one is from Connor. It says 3 out of 3 Minnesota live show. I was like, it's not March 3rd. Been at all 3. Good, thank you, Connor. Sup, Mike? As a longtime listener, I've heard you talk about your podcast Horse a lot and basketball in general. If each of our main crew was a team, which team would they be? I think we did this on a recent one, so I'm going to do your follow-up question. Also, since you are in the state of hockey, I've been wanting to ask, have you ever watched hockey and know anything about it? Grover would be the Minnesota Wild. It would be fun if you combine TNO Potterless with Horse to do a learn about hockey podcast while you follow a season. Thanks for coming to Minnesota. I'll be here for the next show too. Tell your folks I say hi. Midwest joke.
You could call it Hockeyless.
No, stop. Stop.
Because like Potterless, but with hockey.
Shut the puck up. All right. Hey. So I know a little bit. I grew up in New Jersey, so just by default, the New Jersey Devils are my favorite team. I don't follow them at all, though. I used to go a lot to a minor league hockey team in my area where I grew up, the Trenton Titans. I think they were in the EHL, and we used to go a lot, and I've definitely talked about this, where they would do this thing sometimes where they would do chuck a puck for a buck a puck, and it was like a 50-50 raffle thing where you would get like orange foam hockey pucks, and it was $1 each, and then they'd write like a different number on it, and then in between the second and third period, they would just skate out into the ice and put a single helmet, and then they would say, go. And then everyone from the crowd would throw these, and it was like truly like the 300 arrows block out the sun. And then any hockey pucks that landed in the helmet would split the pot from 50-50. It was the coolest thing ever. And it was so fun to be a 9-year-old, and like your dad buys you a puck, and then you do this, and it doesn't even get over the net because you're 9.
And on 21 plus nights, they did
God.
Really letting loose now.
But That's like it. But when we go to Des Moines, we have an off day. So we are going to a very minor league hockey game in Des Moines. We're going to see a Des Moines Buccaneers game, which is like a very small town team. And we have seats right on the glass in the corner because the internet told me those are the best glass seats because they obstruct your view the least. And I am very excited to go to this minor league hockey game.
I think Ovechkin's playing there now, right?
But yeah, that's hockey. Are you a hockey guy at all?
I love the St. Louis Blues in the way that a terrible sports fan loves a team, which is that I watch like when they're deep in the playoffs. So no.
Okay. Ooh, okay. This is speaking to me. This is from, is it Ava or Eva? Your subject line is MSP airport equals best airport ever. Wait, I'm asking if your name is Eva or Ava. Eva, thank you. A lot of people are like, yes. And I was like, hold on. You're agreeing that it's a good air. I was very impressed with the airport. The signage was very clear. I always knew where I was going. Especially even on the like intertrain terminal, it was like, you're here, it will go there. Here are the things that you can do once you get there. Like we were in very different parts and we did not have a hard time finding each other. It was fantastic. And then the train that like takes you from the airport into town, oh, I felt like I was in Europe. It was great.
A nice little feature was that in Terminal 2, the baggage claims are lettered, and in Terminal 1, they're numbered. And so Mike told me I'm sitting at baggage claim 2, and then I was in Terminal 2, and I got to the baggage claims, and they were like, baggage claim A, B, C, D, and I was like, something is amiss.
You left out a key part of the story, which is when I said I was in baggage claim number 2, you said, ha ha ha, number 2.
Yeah. Really drove it home.
All right, here's the email. Hi, Mike. I've been listening to your podcast since sophomore year of high school, and I'm about to graduate college. Oh, no. My question is, throughout the books so far, we have only seen traditional straight couples besides our trans icon Blackjack. Who do you think would be a queer icon / good queer couple? Ooh, from, I've already forgot, Eva or Ava? Eva, sorry. P.S. Sorry if there are typos. I broke my wrist this weekend and typing with the cast is hard. I know that pain. That sucks. I hope you get well as soon as possible. P.P.S. Want to sign my cast? Absolutely. Go to the merch table after the show. I have Sharpies in a purple bag. Bring one up to the stage after the show and I will sign your cast. That rips. I had never had a cast until I broke it snowboarding 2 years out of college. So I was 24 and I got a bright hot pink cast and I had all my friends sign it. It was so cool. Anyway, we got to come up with some queer couples. Who are we coming up with for queer couples? I know the Hunters don't like boys and there's no relationships, but always felt like Zoe and Phoebe should have been a thing. Basketball icon Phoebe and Zoe Nightshade felt like there was something there.
I know this is a little out of left field. It feels like Annabeth and Clarice is totally
enemies to lovers. Yeah. I could see Nico, but I don't know with who. Because he doesn't feel like he's found his match yet to me. So I don't know. I need to get to know Nico more. He's in such sparse things throughout.
What about Chiron and Dionysus? As old gay over it couple.
Go to the Statler and Waldorf. Let's see the theater.
Right.
All right, let's end it with the one that we said we are going to save for the end. There were so many good questions. There were so many fun ones. All right, this one's from Tori. Tori says, hey, Mike, in reference to Monday's episode release, we call them pigs in a blanket. We may have unique names for lots of things, but we're not wrong. Speaking of unique names, can you tell if these are real or fake Minnesota town names? I can either send the answers in a separate email or shout them out from the crowd. We'll let the crowd get in on this. Okay. And you can play along too, Johnny. You guys have to not react when we're until we say what's the answer. So, number 1, Loon Hollow. That feels too easy. I'm going to say fake.
I'm going to say real.
What is it? Fake. Yes. Okay. Let's keep score. I have 1. And you have 0. All right.
I think that was a practice round.
Okay. Blue Earth. That has to be real. What is your thought?
Real.
All right, cool. So 2-1. Side Lake. I'm going to say real.
Fake.
It's real. Ooh, a commanding 3-1 lead.
Warriors.
Don't blow it. Oh, God. Okay, Otter Spring. I'm going to say fake.
Real.
Fake.
I'm so bad at
I'm
this.
amazing. Sleepy Eye. I'm going to say real. What are you saying?
Real.
Real. All right, cool.
You can only come back now if I differ from you.
Crumble Creek. I'm going to say fake.
That's where the carpoi live.
I'm saying fake. What are you saying?
Real.
Fake. Oh.
Throw this microphone.
Aren't you from the Midwest? All right. Walleye Bend. I'm going to say fake.
Fake.
Fake. You got it too.
Yeah, but I'm just grumpy now and saying what you're saying.
8 is Nimrod.
Green Day album.
I know. I'm also going to say real. Real. Yeah, baby.
Real recognize real. Am I right?
Now then. All one word. I'm going to say fake because I think that's a thing that people say. I'm going to say fake.
Real.
Real. Whoa. Hucklefoot.
Real.
I'm saying fake.
I'm smashing real for the rest of this.
What is it? Fake. All right, cool. And then Good Thunder.
Real.
I want it to be real. I'm going to say real. It's real. Oh, Good Thunder. How amazing.
I only ever play rock in rock, paper, scissors, by the way.
Boot Landing. I will say real.
Real.
Fake. Oh, no. Pelican Rapids. I will say real.
Real.
Real. All right, cool. And then Shiver Falls. I will say fake. What will you say?
Real.
Fake. Oh, final score. I got 12 out of 14.
That's messed up.
You got 7 out of 14. Wow.
That's because if you grow up in the Midwest, you're trusting.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that has been our show. Thank you all so much for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it out to the show. Truly, you were a really fun crowd. This was awesome.
So me and this crowd have something in common. So a while ago during this show, you said something just like ungodly spoilery. And I was like losing my mind.
Ooh.
And they were all losing their collective minds.
But no one said anything?
And I was like shaking and the show was like vibrating. And we all did a great job. So well done, everyone.
Cool. Give it up to Johnny for being an incredible guest. And give it up to Eleanor for running the merch table and doing a fantastic job. And give it up to everyone here at Turf Club. Third time we've done a show here. It's been great. And from sound to hospitality to food back in the creepy clown room that's downstairs, everything was awesome. So give it up to the whole Turf Club team. This has been really, really smooth. This was such a delight. I really do appreciate it. This was an absolute blast. Thank you all so much for coming to the show. But that is that. We are over time. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. And until I come back again for what I'll have to just brand as the Minnesota show when I return for the 4th time. Until then, I'll see you later. Thanks so much for coming out, everybody!
Hello! Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamontes and Brandon Grugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you really enjoy the show and you just can't get enough, there's a couple of different things that you can do. First, you can go to patreon.com/The Newest Olympian, and you can get access to all sorts of bonus content that I post on a very regular basis. You also can find us and get involved in the community on social media. We've got an Instagram, we've got a Blue Sky, we've got a Twitter, we've got a Facebook, we've got a subreddit, we've got a Discord that's available to all patrons. If you want to support the show, you can get merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. You can see live shows at thenewsolympian.com/live, and you can check out the aforementioned Patreon. And speaking of, I want to give a shout out to our highest tier, the Ultra God tier patrons who are helping to produce this show with their financial support. So shout out to Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Abby Ryan, Marco Redhouse, Sam Greeby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Persasabeth, Aiden Parziani, Grace, Ginger Spurs Boy, A Cup of Solace, Bradamus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Natanya Page, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jacked Son, Han Haley Hingelheimer Schmidt, Catherine Sloan, Haley Mary, Jim Jam Koopy, Kit Kat Crumbs, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nikos Black Vespa, and Zayden Wintergate. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, just spreading the show via word of mouth is huge. You can tell someone directly who you think would like the show. You could post about it on social media. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're perusing. All of these things really do help, and I really appreciate anyone who has done it in the past or will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tune into our next episode where we will be joined by Johnny Frohlichstein and Eric Hamilton Schneider live in Milwaukee to conclude The Son of Neptune, covering chapters 51 and 52. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mix. So while we were in St. Paul, they did a siren test, like a tornado siren test or something, and it lasted for multiple minutes. Here's just a snippet of it that played. We were in our hotel room and it played, and thankfully people warned me about it beforehand. Otherwise, I would have been very confused. Thank you so much for listening.